There we go. That's 6 arrows. It works. So we're back with, I guess, a part 2, or the practical side of the Captain Kaycee drama. That is, can I shoot like Captain Kaycee? Now, warning, I don't look like her. I don't have red hair, obviously, so I'm not going to look exactly the way she's been shooting. But I do want to examine whether or not you can shoot the way she does. She has posted a video, which was recorded, I think, a month ago, and she can shoot. There's no doubt about that. She's learning, she's training, she can't shoot. But I want to address the issue about the quiver being the wrong way. Now, I made a video about this yesterday, where about half an hour discussion, kind of like doing a double take on what the quiver actually was and whether it actually was designed backwards. It might be worn correctly, but it may be designed backwards. And I'm going to actually see for myself if I can shoot that same quiver or similar quiver in the same way and how it feels. And if I can make it work, can I make it better? So this isn't so much to pile up on Kaycee any more than it needs to be, but I do want to use this as an educational opportunity for people who actually might be interested in doing Asiatic archery or thumb shooting. And for some people, you may have the wrong quiver, which means you might want to try to experiment or adjust it to shoot the way horse archers do. So can you actually do so? So we'll be doing a few examinations of the quivers being used, the bows being used, the technique used, and why certain quivers are more appropriate for horse archery or thumb shooting than others. Now, I want to start with a curious discussion on quivers and what quivers you can buy. Now, the quiver that Kaycee used is the Hawkwood quiver, I believe, from Seven Meadows. And a lot of the trad quivers or traditional quivers you buy aren't actually historical quivers or horse quivers. There are differences between modern quivers and historical quivers, but a lot of quivers you buy from traditional shops are basically traditional in aesthetic and design, but not through practical function. So they look traditional because of the leather work, there might be leather tooling, but they're not functional in any better sense than a historical quiver, which might be simpler. I don't actually have the quiver, but I have something very similar to it. Now, this is the Dragonborn from Mandarin duck. Badass name, by the way. I'm not sure they still sell it, but it's a really cool quiver. It's similar because it's not only the shape of the quiver that Kaycee used, but also this is a back quiver. What you'll find with many of the quivers you buy is that to cut costs, they manufacture the same quiver, but they adapt it for multiple purposes. In this particular case, the Dragonborn quiver is designed as a back and a hip quiver. What's different about this is the attachment points. So currently I've got it on the back quiver strap. So there are 2 attachment points for the strap here on the middle of the back and the bottom here. Now, if I were to change this to a hip or side quiver configuration, there's a separate attachment which connects to the attachment points over here. So I can put it on a belt and I can wear it as a hip quiver. Now, what threw me off a bit with the quiver that Kaycee is using, the Hawkwood, is that the attachment points aren't on this side, they're on this side, here and here, very close to where the back quiver strap is, and I think there's one more attachment point up here, which leads me to believe, I assume, that the Hawkwood quiver is primarily a back quiver, but the hip model just changes the attachment points. And I think some people were questioning why they're up here rather than down here. And it's a reason why I'm a bit confused personally, because logically, when you see a quiver like this, the lip, you might call this part, is normally pointed that way. So whether you're pointing as a hip quiver, it's pointing that way, or if you're holding in your lower back, it might be that way or that way. But normally, this is where the bottom of the quiver is, for practical reasons, which I'll demonstrate later. And the practical reason, apart from how much of the arrow you can reach, and I'll explain this later when I shoot, is that you don't want the arrows to fall out. What happens is the lip actually retains the arrows mostly. So if you're walking and you're tipping up and down like that normally, or you're riding a horse, then it's less likely for the arrows to fall out. Whereas if you pull it this way, if you walk forward or you kneel down, you might tip the quiver, which happens a lot more than you think. Archers will know this. You just like you're bending over to pick something up, and then all your arrows fall out. So that's why, generally speaking, you carry the quiver this way, and that's why we said logically archers will see this as the right way up, whereas this way is more prone to tipping forward. So again, a little curiosity, but we'll see if we can make it work. So I'm going to wear this wrong. So I don't have it properly attached to me. I'm just wearing the back strap across my waist. I'm just holding a place for my hips. But I've got it positioned the way as close as I can to how Kaycee shot in her video. I'm also going to use arrows which are a bit too long for me. It's because she was using long arrows. So we'll see if there are any limitations over what we can do with this style and technique. So I can get arrows in. I do, by the way, have an almost identical bow, coincidentally. So she was shooting, I think, a 40-pound Istvan Toth Avar from Seven Meadows. I have a 40-pound Istvan Toth Mongolian from Seven Meadows, and I think coincidentally this was also my first horse bow or Asiatic bow. It's a fiberglass bow, in case you're wondering. It's wrapped in leather, but it is fiberglass. I haven't used it much since. I've moved on to better bows in my life. But this is actually coincidentally almost identical to what she's shooting. So I'll run through a few shots with this configuration to see if, one, it works, because she can shoot it. So can I shoot it? Does it feel comfortable? And how would I make this more comfortable? There we go. That's 6 arrows. It works. So anyone who says that it's being worn the wrong way and you can't shoot like that or so on, well, you can. Now, there are things I don't like or don't feel comfortable with this configuration, but it does at a base level work. So if you had that quiver or something similar to it and you had to wear it in this particular way with the lip up and it's facing this way, you can, but there are limitations. So when I first analyzed her shooting video, and again, this was an old video, and things will change. You will change form, equipment, positioning, and so on. But from what I saw, I suspected that it was a little awkward to grab arrows and reach around. And I wanted to try it myself to see if that was indeed the case, and that is indeed the case. I would have to, again, using these horse stands, reach around, and depending how far back you put it, hers is quite far back, but I have to reach around, feel for the arrow, which isn't hard, by the way, even from the bottom over here, reach for the arrow, then pull it back, then push it forward. So, you know, it works actually. So you can, by feel, which is important for horse archery, go through the motions and reach arrows. And after you practice for quite a while, you get used to it. So that's something that is at least viable or feasible. So you can definitely do it that way. What I kind of dislike about this is that it is quite a reach around, because the way the arrows are pointed, combined with the fact that these quivers, which are primarily meant for back quivers, are basically full containment quivers. So the quiver itself will hold the majority of the arrow. Now, when I normally shoot with horse quivers or the reverse quivers or field quivers, the arrows aren't contained anywhere near as much. So naturally, when I'm shooting quickly from a horse position, disclaimer, I'm not a horse archer, but when I'm using horse style, your instinct is to grab right here. So you reach for the arrow, you pull out and you push forward. Now, because this is fully contained, and in fact the lip is on top and blocking the arrow, you can't quickly grab an arrow from here and then push forward like that. So that's one limitation. You have to reach around the back, pull it out, most of the quiver, which explains why there's an awkward flick. So again, you can do it, and you can put arrows in pretty easily, so it's functional. You can do it, but I find this motion is a little awkward. You have to get your shoulder back, your elbow rotated in, pull it out, and then you have to almost flick it out of the quiver because it is quite a long pull. You might get away with shorter arrows. So again, one of the things was that she was using longer arrows than what you would normally use for horse archery. So you could with shorter arrow flick it without a problem, but the fact you've got a long pull, so got a long range of motion, followed by a flick like that, that can put quite a bit of strain on here, and that can be very tiring very quickly. So we'll try it again. We'll do a couple more shots. So again, we'll reach back, you get the arrow, and it can get caught on the quiver too, and that might be a concern when you're doing it quickly. We'll do a shot, seems fine. Again, the pull. It is a little awkward. I mean, you do it once or twice, it's okay. When you do it for like a few hours, that can get to you. I wouldn't say it would cause the injury, but it can cause a bit of strain and fatigue when you don't really need it to be there. So is there any way to make this more comfortable? Okay, the problem is I don't want to reach around all the time behind me. If I'm stuck with this quiver, what could I do? Could I move it forward just a bit here? This is one of my suggestions, was to wear it almost on the left side actually. So if I wore on the left side, again, this isn't correctly worn because I have no belt for it. That's worn the right way. But if I wore it on the left side, you can see the problem is that it's pointing downwards. It'll tip over and the arrows will fall out there. But if I could somehow have a belt to wear on the left side, would it be better for the left side quiver? So if I grab the arrows here, well, that's a lot less range of motion. This is a bit of a curiosity more than anything else. I would probably buy a proper horse quiver, but that's a problem there. So I've hit my own quiver. I've knocked all the arrows out, so that's why the lip goes on the bottom. Whoops. Let's restart that. All right, let's try closer to the thigh rather than the front of the stomach. So again, we're gonna try and shoot a sequence so there's less motion from that angle still. Okay, shooting fine. That lip's throwing me off. So I naturally grab the lip and I go, whoops, can't grab that. So reaching under and over is a little weird. Okay, looking good. I'm gonna reach from the bottom. You can see the motion of driving the arrow forward is a bit more natural with that motion, I think. Looking good there, I like that. And last shot. Looking good. Okay, that's a bit more functional. I can get through it quicker. Again, that lip, I grabbed this first and like grab and then whoops, that's there. So you have to go under, you have to go around, so that can be a little awkward, but you can work around that. And just to settle the question, what if I wore it in a way which the lip was on the bottom, the way it's supposed to be? Immediately, I can just grab arrows from the top. So despite having long arrows, the retrieval is much quicker. There we go. And it feels a lot more like a normal horse quiver. So this is a foot quiver, worn the wrong way, positioned backwards. This time with the lip upwards. So there's a lot less grabbing, a lot less reaching, and it's functional. It still feels a little weird because I'm grabbing the lip over here, but that's just my quiver. And I think if I had to use a quiver like that, I would probably use it like this if shooting in a horse archery or mounted style, because it's just easy to hold, easy to put arrows in, easy to pull arrows out. So my conclusions are, it can work if worn the way we've seen in the photograph and the way it shoots in the video. It looks a little awkward and feels awkward to me in the original positioning, but with a few adjustments, you could make it work. I would still prefer, personally, a proper horse quiver that's designed to be easily worn the waist and pulled out quickly, but this method works. And like I said, this isn't about who's right or wrong, but it's about making things work. If this is what you have or what you're given, can you do it this way? Yes. And if you want to try this sort of archery or alternate style of archery, you can definitely be adaptable to this sort of thing here. Anyway, I hope that sheds light on things, and that basically proves that you can shoot almost any way you want. And definitely, as far as quivers go, It doesn't matter if it's backwards or wrong. If it works, it works. Thank you.